We are live. Green flag drops for Road of America. NASCAR Cup Series will be there for the first time in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin this Sunday, July 4th. Normally it's the Cracker Jack, Firework 400, whatever you want to call it, down in Daytona. But we're in Road America, which is very appropriate still for the 4th of July weekend. We're going to break that race down. It's a road course, and we've had several of them this year right here on Life in the Fast Lane, WagerTalk TV. And, of course, I'm joined by myself, Steve Merril, your host, Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com, and, of course, Rocky Atkinson, SportsMemo.com. And I'm going to throw it over to you, Rocky, as we do each and every week for the Rocky recap. Not one, but two Pocono races, the doubleheader weekend last Saturday and Sunday. The 2.5-mile triangle, Rocky. What's the recap for those two spectacular outings we saw last weekend?
Yeah, doubleheader at Pocono is behind us. It's been a crazy year in NASCAR. On Saturday, Alex Bowman grabbed the win as Kyle Larson blew a left front tire while leading on the last lap. Bowman now has 3 wins on the year. Keep in mind, this was a fade guy for me last year. This year, I haven't been fading him, that's for sure, or we'd be losing a bunch of money. Kyle Busch won stage 1. Kurt Busch won stage 2. Kyle Busch finished second for the race. William Byron third. Denny Hamlin fourth. Ryan Blaney rounded out the top 5. Kurt Busch was 6th. Joey Logano 7th. Kevin Harvick 8th. Kyle Larson 9th. And Brad Keselowski rounded out the top 10 for the Saturday race. On Sunday, more craziness as Kyle Busch wins this race while stuck in 4th gear. We talked about fuel mileage being huge here. And one guy we mentioned was Brad Keselowski, but he had to give up the lead and pit with 7 laps left. William Byron then had to pit with 2 laps to go, which give it to Denny Hamlin. Hamlin tried to make it to the end, but he couldn't. He ran out of gas, giving the lead to Kyle Busch, who did save enough fuel to win it. Kyle Larson finished 2nd. Brad Keselowski 3rd. Harvick was 4th. Bubba Wallace with a top 5 finish, finishing 5th. Ryan Blaney 6th. Alex Bowman 7th. Ryan Preece was 8th. Tyler Reddick 9th. And Joey Logano rounded out the top 10. Martin Truex Jr. won stage 1, while William Byron won stage 2. And again, I have to mention this. 2 drivers that absolutely dominated the circuit last year, Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin, both have still yet to win a race this year, but both are still currently in the playoffs as of right now, sitting 12th and 13th in the standings with 7 races left until the playoffs get started in Darlington. That's going to do it for the Rocky recap this week.
Yeah, and Rocky, once again, keep in mind last year Harvick and Hamlin won the 2 doubleheaders, and they finished second in the one they didn't win. So they finished 1-2, 2-1 in the 2 Pocono races last year. And not only did they not win, Harvick, a very misleading 4th place finish on Sunday. He did not even finish top 10 in either stage 1 or 2. And then, of course, he only had a 8th place finish on Saturday, as you mentioned. Hamlin was 4th on Saturday, but then he finished 14th. But as you said, a little bit of fuel mileage taken in there. And hey, speaking of fuel mileage, when I think of fuel mileage, when I think of vapor lock, I think of Andy Lang. And Andy was spot on in his analysis during the race last week here on the show. As Andy, you mentioned that fuel mileage often becomes a factor at Pocono. And I'm going to throw it to you for the Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Award. Rocky kind of hinted at it. Kyle Busch being stuck in 4th gear would have been a pretty good close second if he hadn't won the damn race on Sunday. But the guy that did not win the race on Saturday is probably one of the most obvious Stenhouse Jr. unforced error awards that we've had since we started doing the show last year. So, Andy Lang, I'll throw it to you for the Sarah Merril trophy presentation.
Yeah, it was weird. We pulled the clip. It was very strange. My best bet last week was I said take Hendricks to win. I know you could take Larson. I said if something weird happens, like he gets a flat tire, you still get 3 other Hendricks drivers in this bet. And sure enough, the winner this week has to be Kyle Larson blowing a tire in the last turn of the last lap while leading, while the announcers are just, fawning over him. Like, what's the NASCAR record for most wins in a season? Right. How many in a row does he have? I mean, they were going all out for it. And it's and we all know this as handicappers. You don't ever count on cashing that ticket until your guy crosses the finish line or the horn goes off, because things like that can happen. But yeah, disaster for Kyle Larson. Blows the tire in the last turn of the last lap while leading. And his heart just had to break. And I got to say, I liked how Bowman handled it after the race. just, instead of, the first thing, well, our team fought hard all day. I mean, he was pretty open. He said this was a lucky win and we'll take it in this sport. You just take what you can get. And so he gave credit where credit due. So I thought he handled that well. But yeah, pretty easy win for us. And we had a really good week wagering. Formula One was a clean sweep, and we went 2-1 on Sunday's race. Our one loss was I took Hendricks again to win, and we had it, and then we didn't have it, and then can Kyle Busch close it out in fourth gear? If not, Larson is right there in second, and we didn't get there on those. But 2-0 in the matchups, and 2-1 in Formula One, or 2-0 in Formula One, and we're doing the exact same thing this weekend. There's a Formula One race again, so the NASCAR package is up, and you'll get NASCAR and Formula One plays in that as well.
Yeah, and by the way, this is a good time to mention a fantastic special. Not only is everything $9 at WagerTalk.com for Monday as always, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend as well. Every play, every package is $9. But more importantly, 7 days for $76. And that was going to be a Sunday special only, but the cat's out of the bag. On Friday and Saturday, we're going to offer it as well. Not only at WagerTalk.com, but Rocky's page at SportsMemo.com. You can get it as well. So Rocky Atkinson, SportsMemo.com, 7 days, every sport, every play, every day for $76. Andy Lang or myself, Steve Merril at WagerTalk.com. That includes all of Andy's props for hockey, baseball, basketball, his NASCAR, his golf, and Formula One. It's a great deal. 7 days for $76, and it's not Sunday only as originally planned. You can get it Friday, Saturday, or Sunday right now, including Rocky's page at SportsMemo.com. And Rocky, let's transition to this race. I misspoke at the beginning of the show, as I often do. I said yesterday on the NBA tip-off show we'd never had regular season or postseason games in July, and then I realized the restart last year was July 30th. I thought it was August. I hadn't looked. But it was the first playoff game ever. Joe Ranieri didn't know. He was on vacation. He just had left. He packed up on June 30th and just headed out of town. But we handled it nonetheless. But I misspoke technically at the beginning of this show. As in 1956, Tim Flock, as Andy Lang would remember, Tim Flock won the race at Road of America, apparently, in a Mercury. That ain't going to happen this weekend. But
I had him in. I remember I had him in DraftKings that week. It was a good week.
Well, I thought your second place driver blew a tire in that race, probably. But Flock probably won by like 30 laps. That's how it was back in the day. Average speed 73 miles an hour, 3.5 hour race. Sounds pretty fitting. But Xfinity Series has raced here since 2010 when Carl Edwards won the first race back in the day. More importantly, though, the last 3 years, let's look at the winners. 2020, Austin Cindric. He's been very good on these types of tracks. 2019, Christopher Bell, who won the Roval at Daytona in race 2 this year in the Cup Series. 2018, Justin Allgaier. So, once again, some usual suspects in the Xfinity Series. Rocky, how are you approaching this? None of these Cup guys have ever run a Cup race here. We've seen a few of them maybe in the Xfinity level. It's a normal road course for the most part. It's not a Roval. So I guess we'll approach this like we do. What do you think? Sonoma, Watkins Glen, Austin. Rocky, what are your thoughts for this one?
Yeah, definitely no track history here as far as Cup Series go. There are a few Cup drivers that have run Xfinity here, a couple of races or so. So I'm going to factor that in. But we are practicing and qualifying again this weekend. So that's going to be very important. And that's stuff that we don't know right now. So right now I'm working on track type, which is road course. And like you said, Watkins Glen, Sonoma, those road courses. This track, I did look it up last night. I've never seen anybody run on it, but I did watch last night. It does have 2 pretty long straightaways, but there's no banking. So it's not going to be like your Charlotte Roval or your Daytona road course. So I'm going to factor that in. But like I said, practice and qualifying is going to be very important. We'll definitely be looking at that and finalizing everything Sunday and qualifying Sunday. So the last time this happened, the books did not put out lines until probably an hour, 30 minutes before the race started. So you have to be patient this Sunday with us, okay? Because we might have to release a little bit later than we normally do. But have patience, and we'll win some money for you. But one guy I'm looking at here, and Andy and I talked, and Chase Elliott is the road course king. I mean, he is the man. He is dominating road course races over the last several years. So I'm going to skip over him. I'm going to go to Martin Truex Jr. Truex has 4 wins, 12 top 5 finishes, 18 top 10 finishes, and 35 career road course races. His average finish is 13.8 on road courses. And over the past 3 years, he has 2 wins, 6 top 5 finishes, 8 top 10s in 11 races with an average finish of 7.9 on this track type. So we're going to look for Martin Truex Jr. to run well this weekend.
Yeah, and Truex is a guy that's really interesting to me, Rocky, because he has not run well the last month or so on the regular courses, the regular tracks. And this is a guy that was the first to get multiple wins this year, and then he kind of disappeared a little bit over the past month. But obviously, this is a different animal here with the road course. It kind of pushes all those intermediate tracks to the side. And he's been the second best driver behind Chase Elliott the past 3 seasons, whether you look at average finish, driver rating, everything. It's been Chase Elliott, who we all agreed was a consensus number 1. That's why we're not using him as one of our top 3s here, because we wanted to give you some other drivers. So Rocky's going with Martin Truex Jr., who's really pretty much been the second best road course racer. So Andy, I'll throw it to you. Do you agree that you're looking at Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and Coda, the Austin track that we had for the first time earlier this year? Maybe a little less on the Rovals here, and who's someone you're looking at here for Road Course of America on Sunday?
Yeah, no Rovals for me. They're completely different. They're outliers. I've been to this track. My family lives up there. So I've been there before. And also on NASCAR.com, they actually have video of all the turns, a dashboard camera. So if you want to take a look at what the turns are and compare it to what the track looked like, it's a nice feature they got on that website right there. The 2 long straightaways, you'll see a lot of passes. And then there's only a few turns where you can set guys up. A lot of the turns are, they're not heavy braking. It's, you kind of slow down a little bit, and it's bigger rolling turns. And they also have this labeled as, like, 3 of the turns that they have labeled as turns are not turns. They're little kinks in the straightaway. You're not going to see any passes on those. So passing is going to be at a premium going into those turns and then on the straightaways. So you're looking at guys that can come out of turns with a lot of momentum to get down that front stretch and the other big stretch, and then guys that are good under braking. So my first guy I'm going with AJ Allmendinger. I bet against him in the first road course race, and he burned me, and he was great. And his average finish is 6th at Coda and the Daytona road course. He did not race in Sonoma. And this is a track most of the guys don't know very well. Steve, you brought it up. Austin Cindric won on Road America in 2020 in the Xfinity. AJ Allmendinger was 2nd. So he's been here before. It is a big advantage to be able to say, yeah, I've raced here on this track. I know what the braking is like when you're in traffic. He's just a great natural road course driver. I didn't think his car was going to be good enough to compete on the road courses. I was wrong. And I'll be betting on him this week. It would not surprise me if he's in the top 5. And as we all know, you get a last second caution, and anybody in that top 6 or 7 has a chance to win, especially on a road course. So it would not surprise me at all if Allmendinger's running up front with a chance to win at the very end.
Yeah, and Andy, one thing as handicappers, we always have to adjust. We come out with initial thoughts and premises, and then we kind of adjust on the fly looking at things. And we all said that we didn't think Allmendinger maybe had the horsepower to live up to his road course rankings from years past. And some of the viewers, by the way, in the chats, I think it was Austin was the first race we said that. They disagreed, and they were right. And I love the feedback. I keep saying every week, I think the sharpest viewers we have here on WagerTalk TV, percentage-wise, are these NASCAR fans, because they dive into these races and handicap them with us. And I'm agreeing with you. I think Allmendinger is worth a look. I do get a little bit concerned with the pit crews, because I do think it's a lesser team there, and that could end up being the thing that hurts them. But I think the horsepower is not as much of an issue on these road courses. It's much more about experience. And the fact that nobody has experience here except for a couple Xfinity guys, then talent really is going to be the key. And we know Chase Elliott is talented. Martin Truex, Allmendinger is right up there with as good as they come with road course racers. So, Rocky, I'll throw it back to you for another name here that you're looking at Road of America.
Yeah, I just want to touch on AJ Allmendinger there. My initial handicapping here, I have him in 10th. So I have him running very strong. Of course, like I said earlier, I'm going to definitely be looking at practice and qualifying. On road courses, I'd like to look at play on the top 10 guys. It's a lot tougher to pass on these road course races, but definitely Allmendinger is definitely on my list as well. But I'm looking at Joey Logano. Logano has 1 win, 9 top 5 finishes, 16 top 10s, and 29 career road course races. Average finish is 13.2 on road courses. Very good. Over the past 3 years, he has 4 top 5 finishes, 7 top 10s in 11 races, an average finish of 12.9. And over the past 4 road course races, Logano has the best average finish on the circuit at 2.8. So I'm definitely looking at Joey Logano to run near the top here this weekend.
Yeah, and by the way, just look at the future odds here for this race. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson are both less than 3-1. You've got Truex at about 6-1. Then you start getting some value with guys like Logano. I'm seeing him 12 to 14-1. Allmendinger 18-1. So, when you have a guy like Elliott and Larson who have dominated here, both less than 3-1, you're going to get some pretty good prices on these other guys if one of them hits. And both Allmendinger and Logano are in that double-digit range right now. 2 guys that have been mentioned. Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com. Who's somebody else you're looking at?
I will take the guy that cashed the prop over 1.5 human beings to be in the car on Sunday, and that is Kyle Busch, who I never would have thought was going to be in position to win the race when his pit crew member was sitting next to him in the car trying to fix the shifter, which was amazing. But I'll take Kyle Busch. That was an unbelievable performance. Never give up. Don't stop fighting, whatever all the sports cliches are. That's why, you get back out there and fuel mileage happens. And besides that, I took the last 2 races at Sonoma and Watkins Glen. He has the second best average finish and the second best average running position under green flag. So he's constantly running up by the front and he's finishing up by the front. This is a guy that does good on just about every type of track. He's one of the few drivers that just doesn't have a weak track in him. So I think you got to talk about momentum coming off of a win like that. That team's got to be flying extremely high off of a crazy win like that. So he's got good momentum, does well on road courses. I'll look at Kyle Busch.
Yeah, and he's also got a good team for this weekend because keep in mind, we've mentioned already Truex Jr. Christopher Bell, I said earlier, won the Daytona Roval track. He won here in 2019 in the Xfinity Series. Denny Hamlin is also good on these short tracks, road courses, and now Kyle Busch. And I liked him a lot at Sonoma. He was first and second of the 2 races last week at Pocono. He is running a lot better than last year. And as you know, Rocky, as you mentioned, we're going to have practice sessions this week. And one of the biggest reasons why Busch struggled last year was that lack of practice. So everything checks the boxes for me as well on Kyle Busch. By the way, other than Elliott, Truex, and Larson, the 3 favorites, Kyle Busch is the only other guy in the single-digit range in the future odds right now. So odds makers have him penciled as the 4th guy this week. Before I get to Rocky, though, a quick reminder, 7 days for $76. The founding fathers wanted you, Andy Lang, to get this special. I know you would agree, and that's why it's $76. I love making Andy giggle. It's my goal every week. But that was
then why isn't it 17 days? Why isn't it 17 days for 76?
Because that's just too damn good of an offer. Now it's like, remember something about Mary? He's like 5-minute abs, 6-minute abs. He goes, but mine's 5-minute abs. And he goes, well, what if somebody comes out with 4-minute abs? He goes, no, mine's 5-minute abs. So, no, Andy, it's 7 days, not 17. Sorry. But we did do something, Andy, to throw a little bit of a curveball. Saturday and Friday is eligible now, not just July 4th. July 2nd, July 3rd, because the time changes. Lawrence Presman told me some countries are ahead of us by 12 hours or behind us. I don't know. So we're doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. 7 days for $76. WagerTalk.com or Rocky Atkinson at SportsMemo.com because we love Rocky that much. He's in on the party as well. So once again, 7 days of Rocky's best bets. NASCAR, baseball, hockey, basketball for $76. 7 days of Andy Lang or myself, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get all 3 of us. Andy does props, golf, Formula One. I do baseball, basketball. Get all 3 of us. Get all the different sports, all the angles covered. 7 days, $76. WagerTalk.com and Rocky at SportsMemo.com. And Rocky, I'll throw it back to you. Give me another top 3 guy that you're looking at this week at the road course, Road of America in Wisconsin.
You just named him a couple minutes ago. Denny Hamlin. He has 1 win, 10 top 5 finishes, 16 top 10s, and 35 career road course races. Average finish is 15.7 on road courses. Over the past 3 years, he has 4 top 5, 6 top 10s in those 11 races with an average finish of 9.4. And while he hasn't won a race this year, he leads at the points. He stayed ahead of Kyle Larson somehow from this past weekend. So he's still running good. So I'm looking for Hamlin to run good again this weekend.
Isn't that just fascinating, guys? I mean, he hasn't won a race. I think there's been, at least 11, either 11 or 12 different winners this year. And he has not won a race. He's still the points leader. And Kyle Larson's just been like top 5 every race, it seems. So really is remarkable. Can you imagine if we had 16 different winners that he doesn't make the playoffs, and we'd see some changes in that formula. I don't think that's going to happen, obviously. But, we joke, but this is one of those weeks you could have one of those one-off winners. We had Christopher Bell in week 2 at the Roval in Daytona. The road course, the restrictor plate tracks, funnier things that happen. And that's why I mentioned 2 very short favorites, 3-1 or less. Means there's a lot of double-digit favorites. Andy, anybody else you're looking at this week for the road course?
Yeah, we had our consensus number 1, Chase Elliott. So we didn't want to insult everyone by making that our big revelation. But we haven't mentioned Kyle Larson. So we're doing a NASCAR show, so we do have to bring up Kyle Larson. He's probably the best driver/team combination in NASCAR right now. You have to keep him in mind. He's been doing it at all courses. He's average finish of 2.7 the last 6 races, which is amazing. And he's finished. He's got a win on a road course already. So I don't need to go into too much, but when we're bringing up the drivers that you got to watch, you got to look at Kyle Larson as part of that really strong Hendricks team. He's obviously going to be up by the front at some point during this race.
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine that 2.67 is actually below what it should be because he finished, what was it, like 9th instead of 1st with the cut
Finished
tire.
9th, yep.
And he finished 2nd, but keep in mind he had to start in the rear because he had to switch cars. So he went from last to 2nd in the 2nd race. Probably wins otherwise, to be honest, if that's not the case. And he has a road course win. And then on top of that, he's probably hungry because he didn't win last weekend. So pretty hard to fade Kyle Larson. Let's keep in mind also he has really good career numbers. I joked about last summer we were doing these shows, and one of my top 3 guys every week at all the tracks in past history was Kyle Larson. Well, I had to scratch that because he wasn't running. And that was with the 42 team, a much weaker team. And now, as you said, Andy, he's with the best team, and he is by far the best driver on the circuit. Probably one of the best we've seen in decades, in my opinion, because he won at a lesser level, and now he's dominating at a higher level with the Hendrick team. So once again, Kyle Larson about 3-1, Elliott's about 2.5-1. Those are your 2 favorites. Rocky like Truex. You mentioned Logano. He mentioned also Hamlin. We've had Kyle Busch mentioned. Andy just threw in there Larson, and AJ Allmendinger would be the longest shot of all of them. He's about 18-1 for our play on guys, our top 3 play on odds to win drivers. Rocky, I'll throw it to you. Do you want to go with a long shot, a play it against? What else you got?
Let's go with a long shot. I looked over the list and I found Brad Keselowski at 50-1. And wow. That could be the most he has ever been that high. I mean, it's crazy. 50-1, Brad Keselowski. And he has 7 top 5 finishes, 10 top 10s, and 27 career road course races, average finish of 14.3 on road course races. Over the past 3 years, he has 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, and 11 races, average finish of 14.8. He has raced 1 time in the Xfinity Series at this track, finished with a solid 4th place finish. I don't think Keselowski will win the race, but you could probably find, might sprinkle a little bit on him. I mean, anything could happen here, and he's a wily veteran. And, fuel mileage, it worked against him last week, but usually it works for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if Keselowski sneaks in the top 10 here this weekend.
Yeah, and Keselowski, Andy's one of those guys that's always been much better at Watkins Glen than anywhere else. And you look back 2011 to 2016, he had top 3 finishes in 4 of those 6 years at Watkins Glen. He had 3 straight second places and a third a couple years later. And he has been better overall, it seems, on the road courses and the Rovals. So, yeah, I'm shocked that he's 50-1. I'm seeing it 33-1 at a Sharp Offshore. I'm seeing it 47-1 at FanDuel and 50-1 at some other U.S. books. So, once again, pretty hard to imagine we call the Ninja a long shot, but Brad Keselowski is. And just because he hasn't won on the road course doesn't mean he doesn't run well here, as Rocky mentioned. Andy, do you want to follow with another long shot, a play against guy? What you looking at?
Yeah, we called Brad Keselowski the Ninja because, he all of a sudden surprises you up there by the front. Now he's a ninja because he can disappear without anybody noticing. So the nickname's really good for Brad right now. Speaking of disappearing acts, Kevin Harvick has just been a disappointment this entire year, and he has not had good luck on the road courses. If you combine Sonoma and Coda, his average finish is down there in 29.5. This is behind Cole Custer. This is behind James Davison, who has averaged a better finish than Kevin Harvick. It's behind Bubba Wallace. Anthony Alfredo has beaten Kevin Harvick in both of these races. And this is a huge name that has just really struggled. And like you mentioned, he just was kind of nowhere to be found at Pocono. I don't know what's going on with the team. I don't know if it's he's just losing motivation or if the car just isn't there. But for such a big name that doesn't have a win, it's a guy that I still think you can get good odds on fading. So I think you're getting name value added into the price of some of these head-to-heads. And if you can get a good driver that you know, it might be interesting. If they threw out AJ Allmendinger versus Kevin Harvick and it was even money on both sides, who would you take? I would lean Allmendinger. Crazy as that sounds. So just looking at fading a guy who's just not been very good this year.
Yeah, right now I'm seeing Harvick over 30-1 in most major sports books. 33-1 to 1, 31-1 to win. Allmendinger's around that 18-1 range. So keep in mind the head-to-heads are a little different, though, because once again, Harvick and Keselowski, maybe not great on road courses recently, but they do find a way, as Andy said, the ninjas, the wily veterans, to keep their, keep everything running top 15, top 10. So a guy like Allmendinger could win the race, but he could also finish 30th, because so that's the problem with the head-to-heads. There's a little bit more than just who's more likely to win, and Allmendinger obviously is. But I agree. I mean, it would be very interesting to see what these head-to-heads come out. And as Rocky said, we have practice on Saturday. We're going to have qualifying. That's going to make a big difference from where these odds are set on Sunday morning. Rocky, I'll throw it to you. Speaking of head-to-heads, do you have a play against? Do you want to give us a free play? What else are you looking at here for Road of America in Wisconsin?
I'll go with a play against driver here. Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon struggles on road courses. He has no wins, no top fives, no top tens, and 18 career road course races. Average finishes 23.4 on road course tracks. And over the past 3 years, no wins, no top fives, no top tens in those 10 races. Average finish of 23.8. So I'll be looking to play against Austin Dillon if we can find the right matchup there.
Yeah, and Dillon's a guy that's never done well on road courses. And we talked about this with Sonoma earlier last month when they hadn't run there last year. But then we also talked about more so at Austin with Coda, where they'd never run. Do you really want a guy that's never been good on road courses at a track where they've never run to all of a sudden get it? It just isn't likely to happen, in my opinion. So I think Austin Dillon is a good fade for numerous reasons. Andy, unless there's someone else you want to mention as a play on, play it against, I'll throw it to you for a free play. I know you've always loved he's the prop master, WagerTalk.com, and he's been great with the NASCAR props as well. Last weekend on Saturday, never in doubt, Hendrick Motorsports. You could blow a tire in the last lap, last turn, and you still win your bet because his second place car was a Hendrick. What you looking at this week, Andy, for a free prop?
This might be one of my favorite ones I've had this year. Ross Chastain to finish top 10 on DraftKings. That's available right now at plus 210. So he finished 7th at Sonoma, 4th at Coda, and at Nashville, a smaller track that they haven't raced at before, he finished 2nd. And keep in mind, in the Xfinity Series, he raced here in 2020 and he finished 7th. So this is a guy that has done good on this particular track. He's done good at road courses this year. And on a track that they have never raced at in Nashville, he finished 2nd. And to get a guy like that at plus 210, in my opinion, is just incredible value. I have already played this with my own bankroll, and I think everyone should as well. This is a fantastic price on a guy who's really under the radar.
Yeah, right now, not only is he presenting good value, but you look at who's up there on the list with him. In fact, I'm looking at DraftKings right now, and you've got Chastain at 66-1 to win, 16-1 for a top 3, 2-1, as you said, plus 210 for a top 10. But look who's right above him, Austin Cindric, who won the 2020 Xfinity Series race, 40-1 to win, 10-1 top 3. He's plus 140 for a top 10. So I like Cindric and Chastain, two talented drivers that are a little bit under the radar. But you're right, Andy, Chastain's just been fantastic the last several races at different tracks. And I was actually looking good at Pocono at times as well. So keep an eye on him, not only this week, but in future races. Rocky, head-to-head matchup. I know it's a little early, no qualifying, no practice yet, but what's a head-to-head that you have on your radar for this weekend?
All right, I do want to mention Ross Chastain, 2 7th-place finishes in the past 2 races in his Xfinity at Road America.
Ooh.
So,
nice.
Go back a little further, a little bit more to add there. But this one, I'm going to go with Chase Elliott over Kyle Larson. And Kyle Larson is the hottest driver on the circuit. He is probably the best driver on the Cup circuit this year, and I think he's made a definite name for himself. He did win a road course race earlier this year, and that kind of shocked me because he really hasn't done that well on road courses in his career. But this is more of a play on Chase Elliott. But I'm going to take Elliott over Larson. Elliott has 6 wins, 8 top 5 finishes, 10 top 10 finishes in 15 career road course races. Average finish in his career, 8.7 on road courses. And over the past 3 years on road courses, he has 6 wins, 8 top 5s, 9 top 10s in 11 races. Average finish is 6.9. Very strong there. Kyle Larson, on the other hand, has 1 win, 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s in 17 career road course races. Average finish is 15.2 on this track type. And over the past 3 years, he has 1 win, 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s in 9 races. Average finish of 12.1. So I'm going to play Chase Elliott to finish ahead of Kyle Larson this weekend.
And once again, it's early here on Friday as we do the show live, but I'm seeing at one of the U.S. books, I am seeing him at -130, Larson +110. So I'm seeing Chase Elliott at -130. So he's going to be a slight favorite. I think this is exactly probably what it'll be, unless, once again, somebody has a very extreme difference in qualifying position. But once again, Larson's tough to go against. But as Rocky said, other than that win, he actually hasn't dominated road courses. Chase Elliott has dominated road courses. He's won 6 of the other 10 that Larson didn't win most recently. And you're getting him at basically a little bit better than a pick-em price against anyone is really good. And also, A.J. Allmendinger, Andy mentioned, I'm seeing him at pick-em basically against both Bowman or Byron right now in some advanced head-to-head matchups, which will be interesting because Bowman and Byron, as Rocky said beginning of the show, they've been very strong this year, Hendrick in general. But this is one of the few shows in which we did not mention William Byron. Keep in mind, he had that top 10 streak broken at Sonoma when he had a very unfortunate 11th place finish a few weeks ago, even though he ran very well there, as he's done all season. So Hendrick will be strong. The 2 favorites, Elliott and Larson, but Rocky likes Elliott over Larson in the head-to-head. Andy Lang has one of our sleepers, Ross Chastain, top 10 at over 2-to-1 odds to be a top 10 finisher. I'll throw in Cindric at a +140 as a top 10. I think that's another sleeper who we didn't touch on too much. He won the Xfinity race in 2020. Hey, guys, thanks for joining me as always. Once again, special weekend at WagerTalk.com. Every best bet, every package, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, just $9. But the better deal, as always, is a direct subscription. And whether you go to WagerTalk.com for myself, Steve Merril, or Andy Lang, or you go to SportsMemo.com for Rocky Atkinson, get 7 days all sports for just $76. And that starts right now on Friday. It's good Saturday and Sunday as well. 7 days all sports, $76 at WagerTalk.com. And also for Rocky Atkinson at sportsmemo.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. I'm at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L. Andy Lang at Bump Sports. And Rocky Atkinson at Rocketman Sports on Twitter. And don't forget also to like and subscribe to Wager Talk TV. Like this video. Most importantly, leave us a comment below. As I said earlier, I honestly believe the NASCAR viewers on this channel are the sharpest sports bettors we have on this network. We love your feedback. We love your thoughts. You give us tips that we use as well. This is a new course for all of us, Road of America this weekend. Let us know your thoughts, how you're approaching it, which other tracks you're looking at, and most importantly, who your top 3 picks are for this Sunday's race. Best of luck as always. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next Friday with more Life in the Fast Lane right here on Wager Talk TV.